Welcome to. Hello, guys. This is episode 2 of the Mystery of the Paranormal podcast. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about some of the world's creepiest abandoned places and the stories behind them, and we are also going to be talking about some of the most haunted places in America. This is episode 2 of the Mysteries of the Paranormal podcast here on Friday, May 20th. I hope you guys are ready. Episode 2 is coming at you right now.
This is the Mystery of the Paranormal podcast, which takes you deep down in past history to document some of the horrific tragedies. Also takes an inside look into the dark side to show how the paranormal has evolved around people and places in mysterious ways. Please welcome your host, Exploring with Dakota.
Thank you, Mark. Welcome back, everyone. Welcome to episode 2 of the Mysteries of the Paranormal podcast. Today, it's going to be an epic episode. I can't get my words out, but this episode is going to be epic. I hope you guys are going to enjoy this one. Like I said in the intro, we're going to be talking about some of the world's creepiest abandoned places and the stories behind them. And we are also going to be talking about some of the top most haunted places in the world, or in America rather, sorry. But I hope you guys are ready. I'm ready here on this Friday afternoon. It's a great day. Although the heat is freaking killer today, but hey, that's okay. We're right here setting up at the desk in my own personal so-called studio. So, Mystery of the Paranormal episode 2. If you guys are ready, we're going to jump right on into it. To start it off today, we are going to be talking about 21 different of the 21 creepiest. Okay, sorry. I'm wrong. 28 of the creepiest abandoned places in the world and their stories behind them. I hope you guys are ready, because this is about to be epic. And once we get done with the abandoned, we're going to switch over to the 32 most haunted places in America. This episode is about to be wild, insane, and crazy. So, hope you guys, let's go ahead and get right underway here. As we start off with number 1, which is the Jetstar roller coaster abandoned fairground ride. It is located in Seaside Heights, New Jersey. It shut down back in 2012. It was a very popular attraction between the 70s and the early 2000s. The owners did attempt to actually sell it, but because of financial issues, they was not able to. And it wasn't able to be refurbished. So it's been sitting here abandoned. Now it's getting washed by waves from the ocean, because it's literally sitting in the middle of the ocean. Number 2, which is a very... Okay. This is a very crazy place. I've not heard of it. but it's in Ukraine. It is called Pripyat, the Chernobyl abandoned city. Pripyat was found as a Soviet nuclear city in 1970 that housed workers for the nearby ill-fated Chernobyl nuclear power station. It takes its name from the nearby Pripyat River and was officially recognized as a city in 1979 with a population of 49,000 people. By the way, what is up, Nubs? I seen you comment, I'm sorry. But in 1986, the facility faced meltdown, which took place while the entire city was being evacuated. Access to the city is currently administered by the Ministry of Emergencies in Ukraine that still controls activities within the exclusion zone. Radiation levels have fallen considerably from 1986 with equivalent doses ranging from 1 to 336 microsievert per hour. That's a lot of radiation. Number 3. This is in Sydney, Australia, what they call the SS Field. It's a 107-year-old floating forest. The last recorded use of this so-called forest shipwreck type structure was in 1972. It was launched from the UK in 1911 under the name SS Paranormal. But the bay called Homebush Bay was used to be home to various shipbreaking operations during the mid-20th century. Various wrecked ships remain in the area, including the most famous of them, the SS Field. The ship was built, like I said, and launched from the UK in 1911 and later registered as the SS Field in Australia in 1912 as a steam collar. It transported supplies during World War II and returned to service as a steam collar post-war until it was decommissioned in 1972. Most of its superstructure was reclaimed and scrapped during the 1970s, but ship-breaking operations ceased in the same decade, leaving the hull to float anonymously in the bay. I honestly don't know how this ship hasn't sunk yet, but it's still standing strong, I guess. Number 4, in Tequendama Falls, Colombia, the Hotel de Salto is the most haunted abandoned hotel. The Hotel de Salto was first opened in 1928 to serve tourists visiting the nearby 157-meter falls. Reports of contaminated waters led tourists to begin to lose interest in visiting the hotel, and it was forced to close its doors in the early 1990s. In 2012, the building was converted to a museum. Locals claim that people have decided to use the site to commit suicide, leading many to believe that's why it's haunted. Wow. Okay. Number 5. The abandoned Soviet submarine base. Now this sounds crazy. In the Pacific Submarine Fleet nuclear shelter in Russia lies this abandoned submarine base, which was built between the 1960s and was abandoned and left unfinished in the late 80s. It has thought to have been to serve as a nuclear bunker to protect the Soviet Union's precious nuclear submarines. The base features 2 large tunnels to house the submarines with a maze of much smaller ones for personal gear and accessories. Today it still remains abandoned and can often be found with frozen water in the docking areas. Wow. This one is in number 6, New Bedford, Massachusetts. The so-called the haunted New Bedford Orpheum, which is kind of like a theater where they would have like plays and different type of shows. Pretty cool place. But the thing that gets me about this place, I'll read it here in just a sec. Once I get to it, I'll let you guys know when the crazy thing about it is coming up. The Orpheum Theater is now a vacant theater and movie house on Water Street in New Bedford, Massachusetts. The building opened its doors on April 15th of 1912. That building opened the same day the Titanic sunk. Now that is crazy. The building first opened its doors on the same day that the Titanic sank. The theater was closed in 1958 and was opened for special occasions only thereafter. It was later sold to a tobacco company who used it for storage in 1962 but is now largely void. Today it's an eerie place to behold, but there are plans afoot to revive the building by a non-profit organization. What's up, Christina? But we ain't even got halfway through the list yet, and these already sounds... I already would love to visit some of these. Number 7. The abandoned subway tunnel in Kyiv, Ukraine. Some parts of the Kyiv metro system that is rarely, if ever, visited or used. These sections of the tunnel are hidden deep beneath the city in a reminiscence of scenes from the James Cameron classic Aliens, if y'all have seen that movie. Many of these tunnels are often flooded and are so rarely maintained that mold and asbestos have started to grow from the tunnel ceilings. Oof. Number 8. Another abandoned submarine base, but this one has a very creepy backside to it. Dark side, whatever you want to name it. But also, it is still currently in use by both Ukraine and Russia with the situation we got going on right now. But back in the day, it was used as a Soviet-era submarine docking facility. And Russian communists have a penchant for building imposing and scary underground facilities, of course. But it was decommissioned after the fall of the Soviet Union. It was specifically designed to be able to withstand a nuclear strike and is deep underground. The structure was touted as virtually indestructible with its labyrinth of corridors and docks crowned with a shell of concrete and steel that was designed to resist a 100-kiloton blast. It was then converted into a naval museum in recent times, but has since closed because of the issues between Ukraine and Russia. Number 9. This is in Georgia, actually. It is an abandoned train station. The last time it was in service was 1993. The railway reached the station or reached the city in the 1930s construction work, which began with the station first opening in 1940. It then later became incorporated to the Trans-Caucasian Railway, with the current facility built in the mid-1950s, but in the Stalinist architectural style. The building is both beautiful and foreboding in equal measures. It finally closed its doors during the war, when loyalist Georgian and rebel forces clashed during the early 1990s. Today it's been much partially reclaimed by nature, making for an interesting and creepy experience. I wasn't even born yet, Nubs. Number 10. The abandoned military hospital in Belitz, Germany. The Belitz Hospital is situated near Berlin in a little town called Belitz, of course, which is famous for asparagus. It was originally built at the beginning of the 20th century to treat tuberculosis, with the entire facility comprising around 60 buildings. It was commanded as a military hospital during the World Wars and was also used for Nazi experiments during World War II. During the final days of the war, the facility was captured by Soviet forces and became their biggest military treatment center outside of Russia until 1994. Some parts of it are still in use today for neurological research and treatment, but most are left abandoned. Number 11. The wreck site of the SS America in Canary Islands. The last recorded voyage was in 1994. The SS America was commissioned and built in 1940 for the United States Lines and designed by famed naval architect William Gibbs. SS America had a distinguished service life of 54 years before ending up wrecked in the Canary Islands. The name changed throughout that time, with her final name at the time of the wreckage the SS America Star. At the time, she was undertow to be refitted as a floating hotel in Thailand when a large storm broke the tow lines, leaving her adrift. She can still be seen beached and wrecked, but has largely broken up since 1994. A large part of her bow still remains visible at low tide and serves as a stark reminder of the power of the sea. Number 12. The Sorrento Abandoned Mills in Sorrento, Italy. The last recorded use of this mill was in 1866. The abandoned mill near Naples, Italy, sits in a deep canyon and has been partially reclaimed by nature. Stunningly beautiful, and it's both enticing and creepy matter at the same time. Built in the 10th century, it served as a flour mill until it was closed in 1866 when the Tasso Square was built. The event isolated it from sea and increasing local humidity, rendering the mill impractical. Wow. The building was finally closed and abandoned to its fate in the early 1940s. Oof. Number 13. The former nuclear bunker, which was turned into a cannabis factory. What's up, DK Nation? So, let's get right on into this. It is located on a military base in Bavaria, Germany. Last recorded use was 2003. Built as part of the NATO defenses to combat the very real threat of Soviet Russia, this Cold War era bunker is destined for a very different role in the future. One German entrepreneur, Christopher Rossner, has plans to grow medicinal cannabis in a forgotten nuclear bunker on a partially abandoned airbase. The recent legalization of cannabis in Germany will turn a once creepy abandoned nuclear bunker into something their architects could have never imagined. The former 50 meters long by 15 meters high bunker was once an integral part of the defenses of the Minigen military base between 1956 and 2003. The facility's high security requirements are ideal for the strict regulations required by the Bavarian government for its intended use and its future plans. Wow. Number 14. I'm probably sure most of y'all have heard of these, but they are in Paris, France. The catacombs. DK, we got a lot of creepy and spooky stuff to talk about here today. Currently on the list of the most creepy abandoned places in the world and the stories behind them, and then we are switching to the top 32 most haunted places in America. So let's start reading on the catacombs. The catacombs have been open to the public since 1874. Hidden beneath the streets of Paris, this famous subterranean tomb holds the remains of no less than 6 million bodies. The underground cemetery was built in the last 18th century and was used by the French resistance as their HQ during the Second World War. The catacombs, from a literal labyrinth beneath the heart of the city, was created in the galleries of former quarries used to build the city. The dead who now adorn the walls of the ossuary was gradually transferred there as graveyards were being closed for public health reasons. The first to be built was the Innocents Graveyard in 1786 in what is now the district of Les Halles. Alrighty. Number 15. The Tirpitz Museum, which was a former Nazi bunker located in Denmark. The last recorded use, it is now currently a museum, but the last recorded bunker usage was in 1945. The Tirpitz Museum, as known as the Blauvelen Bunker Museum, features exhibits on the Nazis' ambitious Atlantic Wall project during World War II. The museum is built inside an old abandoned German bunker that formed part of the wall defenses along the west coast of Denmark. The museum has 2,500 m2, which is, I guess, square feet, I don't know, of exhibition space that features 4 exhibitions, including a large amber collection. Exhibitions on the bunker itself, a history museum, and a special exhibitions gallery. The ultra modern design for the museum was shortlisted for the Mies van der Rohe 2017 awards, and its construction was funded by the A.P. Mahler and Chastine McKinney Mahler Foundation. Number 16, the IEM cooling tower, which is in Belgium. The cooling tower to an abandoned power station in the town of Charleroi, Belgium, still dominates the skyline but no longer bellows out steam. The power plant was originally built in 1921 and was at the time one of the largest coal-burning power plants in Belgium. At its height, the cooling tower was able to cool 480,000 gallons of water per minute, and the power plant underwent improvements to burn natural gas in the 1970s. Later found that the power plant alone was responsible for generating 10% of Belgium's carbon dioxide emissions. This led to protests from Greenpeace in 2006, which ultimately leading to its closure in 2007. Number 17, the former sunken yacht in Antarctica. Last recorded use, 2012. A few years ago, if you'd found yourself in the Ardley Cove in Antarctica, you wouldn't have been able to fail to notice an odd shape just under the sea surface. This was the wreck of the Brazilian yacht Endless Sea. The yacht and her Brazilian film crew were filming a documentary when the vessel was hit by strong winds and got stuck in the ice. The crew abandoned the ship, leaving the ship to its fate. All 4 filmmakers on board was eventually rescued by the Chilean Navy. All crew was unharmed. The winds engulfed the ship in seawater that dully froze, cracking its hull and leaving it wrecked. Her remains were salvaged in 2013 and towed to shore. Number 18, the Monsell Sea Forts, which once housed pirate radio stations. This is located in England. The last recorded use was 1950. Designed by Gan Monsell, these Army and Navy forts were built in the Thames and Mersey estuaries during World War II to defend the waterways in case of attack. Post-war, with the immediate threat from Axis forces removed, the forts were decommissioned and left to their fate. Although they are collectively called Monsell forts, they actually comprise 2 distinct designs. The forts closest to the mainland were Army forts. Those further out to sea were for naval purposes, serving as gun platforms. The forts have since been used for pirate radio activities, with once famously declaring itself independent from the UK as a principle of Sealand, though its declared sovereign status is not officially recognized. Nubs, this is your type right here. Number 19, the Sanzi UFO houses in Taipei City, Taiwan. The UFO houses were a set of UFO-like housing pods in the district of Swansea. Their design was certainly bold, but the project was never completed and units were left abandoned in the 1980s. Construction began on the project in 1978 and were intended to be used as a vacation resort. Lack of investment meant that the project stalled and was never completed. What's up, Maria? The buildings were a tourist attraction for a time and were used as filming locations. The buildings were finally demolished in 2008, and by 2010, all houses had been demolished. Number 20. This is in China. The underwater city of Shahing. I think that's how you say it. I don't. Last recorded use was in 677 AD. This was a long time ago. The sunken city dates back to Eastern Han Dynasty 25 to 200 AD. It was flooded in 1959 when construction began on the river hydropower station, flooding the region where the old city was located. The sunken abandoned city is also often referred to as China's Atlantis rediscovered. Its current predicament is actually beneficial to the site as it is now protected from the ravages of wind and rain erosion. It is preserved and can be found just 26 to 40 meters underwater. Number 21. St. George's Church. The now dilapidated St. George's Church is not only spooky from the outside, but is equally creepy on the inside. The church was abandoned in the 1960s, but has in recent times become home to some ghostly shrouded statues. The church was left to rot when its roof collapsed in 1968, and taking it as a bad omen, the resident boarded up the church soon after. Services was then held outside. Despite this, residents wanted to see it restored, and so artist Jacob Hadrava was commissioned to turn it into an art installation to raise funds for the work. The plaster ghosts were installed in 2014 and have now become a minor tourist attraction. Number 22, the Bannerman Castle, which is located in Hudson Highlands State Park in New York. What's up, Judy? What's up, Black Dragon? Anybody else I missed? Bannerman Castle is yet another of the most creepy abandoned places in the world. The island on which it was built was purchased by the wealthy Bannerman family in 1900, and construction on the mock Scottish castle began in 1901. After its construction, it was used as a military surplus stockpile. The castle was severely damaged by fire in the 1950s and has been abandoned ever since. Wow. Yeah. And supposedly it's still abandoned to this day. It's somewhere in New York. Some state park. Number 23. The Ryayong. Weird name, but whatever. It's a hotel in North Korea. The hotel, otherwise known as a Yongkyung Hotel or a 105 building, is one of the world's creepiest abandoned places. It is also, according to the Guinness Book of World Records, the tallest abandoned building in the world. Construction of the building began in 1987 and was summarily halted in 1992 where construction then resumed in 2008 but was again halted in 2011. Yet the building has yet to be fully completed and has never been occupied. Oops, sorry. I moved the picture there. I was trying to just move the screen. Okay, there we go. Yeah, it's in North Korea, unfortunately. Number 24, the abandoned railway station of Michigan Central Station, which is, of course, in Detroit, Michigan, which was last recorded to be used in 1988. It is another of the world's creepiest abandoned places, a historic former main inner-city passenger rail depot. The building has been completely unoccupied since 1988. It was built to replace a former depot that was severely damaged from a fire in 1913 and remained in service until the cessation of Amtrak in 1988. Since 2011, demolition works, minor structure repairs, and other alterations have taken place. The building was purchased by Ford in 2018, who plans to develop the building into a mixed-use facility. Number 25, the Sunken Christ of the Abyss. It literally looks like a statue of Jesus that is sunken underwater. Somewhere located in the Mediterranean Sea. It was sunk, or it was, I guess, found underwater in 1954. It is a submerged bronze statue of Jesus Christ, which is located 20 miles in the Mediterranean Sea. The statue was created by an Italian sculptor, Guido Galletti, and various copies of it can be found in other places around the world. Oh, it was installed underwater. Okay. In 1954, the statue was installed approximately 15 meters under the sea surface. It was first created in honor of Dario Gonzatti, the first Italian to use scuba gear, who died in 1947, which has since then it has undergone various restoration works. What's up, Rain? Yeah, DK, there is a lot to these that's probably has not even been figured out yet. The abandoned Naku Town Wonderland amusement park in Qinzhuang Village, China. Wonderland Amusement Park is an abandoned, never really completed amusement park just outside Beijing. It was originally proposed by a property developer and was hoped to become the largest amusement park in Asia. The site features a number of abandoned structures like the framework of a castle-like building and other medieval-themed outer buildings. Construction ceased in around 2008, and other attempts to complete the work have also failed. Some of the site has reportedly been reclaimed by local farmers to grow their various crops. Since 2013, demolition works have progressively reduced the site to its foundations. Number 27, the Willard Asylum in Willard, New York, which shut down in 1995. The Willard Asylum for the Chronic Insane, as the name suggests, is also another of the world's creepiest abandoned places. A listed building on the U.S. National Register of Historic Places, it first opened its doors in 1869. After Geraldo Rivera's 1972 expose on the deplorable conditions at Willowbrook Asylum, numbers in large institutions declined sharply. Willard Asylum discharged its final patient in 1995 and shut its doors for good. Today, some of the facilities are still being used for training and dormitories by the Department of Correctional Facilities. They also maintain many of the former asylum's grounds, but many of them have been left to rot. What's up, Bud Files? Number 28, which I believe is the last one. Yes, the last one on this list. The Murney Diamond Mine, which is rumored to suck in helicopters, which is in eastern Siberia. It shut down in, what I'm reading here, 2001. The massive open-cast diamond mine in Murney, Russia, is also another creepy and abandoned place, one of the largest man-made excavated holes in the world. The former diamond mine was one of the richest deposits in the world. It is over 525 meters deep, making it the fourth deepest in the world. And has a diameter of around 1,200 meters. Mining operations began in around 1957 and was ceased in 2001. Since 2009, the underground extraction of the diamond deposits recommenced. Some believe that helicopters can be sucked into, but there is no actual evidence for this myth. Well, 28 of the most creepiest abandoned places in the world and the stories behind them. That's that. And I'm going to take a quick break, go get me a drink, and we will be back to talk about the top 32 most haunted places in America. Play you guys some creepy music until I get back. All right, we are back, guys. Back at it. For the guys still in the chat, thank you all for coming to episode 2 of the Mysteries of the Paranormal Podcast. We will be doing this every Friday at 5 p.m. I believe. Every Friday, 5 p.m. It's going to be live exactly like this, and we'll switch it up every week. Talk about different things. So, if y'all are ready, I know I am, let's jump into the top 32 most haunted places in America. Alright, as we start off with number 1, Bodie, California. Once home to 10,000 people, Bodie boomed in the 1870s and 80s when gold was found in the hills surrounding Mono Lake. It's now a state historic park with some parts of the town preserved in a state of arrested decay. Tables with place settings and shops eerily stocked with supplies. It's not surprising that there are many reports of supernatural activity here, including ghost sightings and music playing from shuttered bars. There is also a legend that any visitor who takes anything, even a rock from Bodie, will be cursed with bad luck and health problems upon leaving. Wow. Number 2 is the Bonaventure Cemetery in Savannah, Georgia. Those of you who remember the 90s will recognize this cemetery as the one featured in the novel Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil. Like the book, the Savannah Cemetery itself has a Southern Gothic atmosphere with Spanish moss giving shade to time-worn Victorian monuments. There are many notable figures buried here like singer Johnny Mercer and poet Conrad Aiken. But it's Gracie Watson who most deserves a visit. Having died at just 6 years old, her grave is marked by a life-size marble statue with her hand resting on a tree stump symbolizing her life cut short. Many visitors place toys at her grave when they visit, and some have even reported seeing the ghost of Gracie near the site. Other spooky accounts of the Bonaventure Cemetery include unexplainable sounds like crying babies and barking dogs, and statues suddenly smiling as people approach them. Okay, that's the statues smiling at people. Creep me out just even thinking about them. Ugh. Walk into a cemetery and you see a concrete statue smiling at you as you walk up to it. Oh my God. Number 3, Chihuahua, Alabama. Alabama's first capital and famous ghost town takes its name from the state's longest river, situated at the confluence of the Chihuahua and the Alabama. It was abandoned after the Civil War, and its empty buildings, slave burial grounds, and eerie cemeteries are now popular settings for ghost tours and many stories of paranormal activity. The most famous tale is that of a luminous floating orb appearing in the former garden maze of Colonel C.C. Perguis's house. Shortly after the colonel had been killed in battle, the phenomenon became known as Perguis's ghost and still attracts curious visitors to the site today. Wow. Number 4, I believe. Yep. Number 4. The Caucasian Courthouse in Lake Charles, Louisiana. Tony Henry was a former worker who reached national levels of infamy when she killed a man in cold blood in 1940. It took 3 trials for a jury to convict the charming Tony Henry, but she eventually became the first and only woman in Louisiana to be executed in the electric chair. However, her spirit is said to have remained in the courthouse, where workers can feel her presence and even smell her burning hair. Many claim she meddles with everyday life at the courthouse to make life more difficult for the employees, locking doors and fiddling with office equipment. Wow. Number 5, which is a very popular place which most investigators have been to or have at least heard of, in Eureka Springs, Arkansas, the Crescent Hotel. Since its construction in 1886, the Crescent Hotel has served several purposes: luxury resorts, conservatory for young women, a junior college, but the strangest mark on its history came in 1937 when it got a new owner, Norman G. Baker. Baker, who was a millionaire inventor who decided to pose as a doctor despite having no medical training and turn the hotel into a hospital that could cure cancer. He was eventually found out and he was run out of the town. Although reports say that his spirit found its way back to the site and found some otherworldly company too, the now operating Crescent Hotel is said to be haunted by at least 8 ghosts. I almost said goats, not goats. Ghosts, spirits, ranging from a 5-year-old girl to a bearded man wearing Victorian clothing. Wow. There ain't no goats haunting the Crescent Hotel, I can tell you that now. If there was goats, that hotel wouldn't be a hotel much longer. Alright. Number 6. The Dock Street Theater in Charleston, South Carolina. I've actually heard of this place. Been wanting to go to this place too. One of the oldest theaters in America, the site in downtown Charleston has racked up a lot of tumult in history over the years. After a fire burned down the original theater, the Planters Inn was built on the spot. It was converted back to a theater in the 1930s. The most famous ghost here is Nettie Dickerson, who legend has it was struck by lightning while standing on the balcony of the hotel. Her shadow has been reported gliding along the second floor of the theater, dressed in a red gown. Also in otherworldly attendance, Junius Booth, a renowned 19th century actor and the father of Lincoln assassin John Wilkes Booth, who used to frequent visit the inn. Wow. And the next one, the Driscoll in Austin, Texas. The Driscoll is a majestic hotel with modern rooms and an iconic brick facade, drawing European tourists and wedding parties since 1886. It's a true Austin landmark and, according to some, a true hotspot for spirits. Travelers have noted eerily abnormal sounds through its ornate corridors, as well as phantom sightings of the hotel's namesake, Jessie Driscoll, whose portrait still hangs in the lobby. They say Driscoll never recovered from the heartbreak of losing his hotel in a high-stake poker game, and honestly, the hotel is a hard one to say goodbye to. The next one is also another very popular haunted place, and what one place I would love to investigate. In Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, the Eastern State Penitentiary. The castle-like Eastern State Penitentiary took solitary confinement to new levels when it was built in 1829. Prisoners lived alone, exercised alone, and even ate alone. When an inmate left his cell, a guard would cover his head with a hood so he couldn't see or be seen. The prison had to abandon its solitary system due to overcrowding from 1913 until its closure in 1970. Although the forms of punishment did not get any less severe, chaining an inmate's tongue to his wrists. Oh my God. The site, one of the most haunted places in America, now welcomes thousands of visitors every year, both for its museum and annual Terror Behind the Walls celebration, which features 15 haunted attractions within the prison walls for Halloween. Reported paranormal happenings have included disembodied laughter, shadowy figures, and pacing footsteps. And if you don't know, the major inmate of Eastern State Penitentiary, Al Capone. Probably the most famous inmate of all time. Alright, the next one is in Stowe, Vermont, Emily's Bridge. New England is known for its lovely covered bridges, but some are most likely to dread rather than delight. Take Emily's Bridge in Vermont, for example, a 50-foot long bridge that is said to be the site of a young woman's suicide in the mid-1800s. According to legend, the woman who was named Emily was supposed to meet her lover at the bridge to elope, but ended up hanging herself from the rafters when he never showed up. Today, Emily's ghost is said to maliciously haunt the site, clawing at passing cars and even scratching the backs of pedestrians until they bleed. They are slightly less menacing spooks as well, like images of a white apparition and strange voices and footsteps coming from the tunnel. Wow. The next one is, of course, another popular place. Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. What's up, Karen? The Battle of Gettysburg was once of the bloodiest in American history, with somewhere around 50,000 young men dying in the 3-day conflict. Many of the soldiers never received a proper burial, and after their untimely death, many believe the souls of these men now wander the field to look for their weapons and comrades. Another place I'd like to visit. The next one is in Hawaii, the Honolulu International Airport. An airport that's haunted. Maybe a coincidence. I don't know. If flight delays and $13 sandwiches aren't enough to make you fear airports, Honolulu's International Airport has an extra feature to strike fear in even the most intrepid of travelers. A resident ghost, the lady in waiting. Okay. The apparition is of a blonde woman in a white dress who shows up in off-limits areas of the airport. According to legend, the woman fell in love with a man who promised to marry her while she was still alive, of course, but then he hopped onto an international flight and abandoned her at the gate. Her ghost is still waiting for him to return. People have reported other strange occurrences as well, like toilet paper rolls that unravel on their own and toilets that flush by themselves. Although when it comes to airport bathrooms, a lot scarier things have happened. Of course. In an airport bathroom, whoa, you just might as well expect everything. The next one is the Flagstaff's Monte Vista Hotel in Flagstaff, Arizona. Sorry. The hotel has its fair share of paranormal guests who have truly overstayed their welcome, including a long-term boarder who had a habit of hanging raw meat from the chandelier in room 210, and two women who were thrown from the third floor and now attempt to murder male guests in their sleep. There is also reportedly an infant whose disturbing cries have sent staff members running upstairs from the basement. Actor John Wayne even once had his own paranormal encounter here. The next one is the House of the Seven Gables in Salem, Massachusetts. Aside from being the site of those famous witch trials, Salem also happens to be the birthplace of Nathaniel Hawthorne, who used this 17th century house as inspiration for his famous 1851 novel, The House of the Seven Gables. Aside from its beautiful yet spooky facade, the house is surrounded by tales of paranormal activity and ghost sightings, all based on personal experiences of the staff members. Every October, the house offers tours as well as weekly performances of two plays, The Legacy of the Hanging Judge and Spirits of the Gables. The next one is the Lincoln Park Zoo in Chicago, Illinois. Lions and tigers and ghosts, as it turns out, one of the Chicago's most popular attractions, is also one of its most haunted, with much more than just chimpanzees roaming the grounds. From the 1840s to the 50s, the heart of Lincoln Park served as a cemetery. Served as the city cemetery, housing some 35,000 bodies. The cemetery was eventually moved to its proximity to the city's water supply, and most of the bodies, but not all of them, were moved with it. If you've ever seen a horror movie, you know that messing with burial grounds is the easiest way to get haunted, and the Lincoln Park Zoo is no exception. As if walking above several thousand corpses isn't creepy enough, famed parapsychologist Ursula Bileski once called the area, without a doubt, the most active site that she's ever investigated. And people have reported seeing ghosts there since its opening 150 years ago. However, no ghosts of the animals have reported to be spotted as of yet. They've all been people. And another one that I would love to visit, another popular place, which is located in Fall River, Massachusetts, the Lizzie Borden House. Without a doubt, the most famous haunted bed and breakfast in New England is the Lizzie Borden House in Fall River, Massachusetts. For those unfamiliar with the story, police accused Borden of brutally killing her father and stepmother with a hatchet in 1892. She was acquitted of the murders later that year, At the Lizzie Borden Bed and Breakfast Museum, visitors can tour the house or even spend the night staying in the room where Abby Borden was killed. Guests and employees have reported all kinds of strange activity in the house, including weeping and footstep sounds, an apparition in Victoria-era clothing, wandering the halls, opening doors and closing, and muffled conversations coming from vacant rooms. I would love to go to the Lizzie Borden house, but the only thing about it is a little pricey. I think it's like $290 something for a room per night. Which I can see why it's pricey, but phew. The next one is the Mark Twain House in Hartford, Connecticut. Mark Twain lived in his Hartford house from 1874 to 1891, during which time he wrote both The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn and The Adventures of Tom Sawyer. The landmark now serves as a museum that showcases the iconic author's life and work. It is also an excellent place to experience the paranormal. Apparently, visitors have reported things like odd noises and a woman in white. The billiard room is considered the most haunted spot in the house. It is where Twain used to sit and smoke cigars, and some claim they can smell smoke wafting through the air as they pass through. Wow. The next one is another one located in Detroit, Michigan, the Masonic Temple. With its 16 floors, 1,000 plus rooms, and Gothic facade, the Masonic Temple is one of the most imposing additions to the Detroit skyline. According to rumors, there's also more to it than meets the eye, like hidden passageways and staircases. The most famous urban myth associated with the temple, however, is that of its architect, George Mason. Legend has it that Mason went bankrupt funding the construction and then leaped to his death from the roof. You'll be hard-pressed to find facts to back up this tale, but it certainly does help explain reports of a ghost climbing the steps to the roof of the building. The next one is another place I would love to visit, which is severely haunted, which is located in Tonopah, Nevada, the Mizpah Hotel. The Mizpah Hotel opened in 1907 as one of Nevada's first luxury hotels, complete with solid granite walls and Victorian-era decor. It was fully restored in 2011, but the swanky hotel has a history as blood red as its scarlet furnishings. Once it proudly embraces. Legend has it that a woman died on the 5th floor and her soul has never left the building. The lady in red now reportedly makes her presence known by whispering in men's ears and leaving pearls from her broken necklace on the guests' pillows. The Mizpah honors her reputation by letting visitors stay in the Lady in Red suite and serving the Red Lady Bloody Mary at the hotel restaurant. The next one is another one that I would love to visit, which is located in St. Francisville, Louisiana. It is called the Myrtles Plantation. Built in 1796 by General David Bradford, Myrtles Plantation is considered to be one of America's most haunted sites. The house is rumored to be on top of an Indian burial ground and is home to at least 12 different ghosts. Legends and ghost stories abound, including the tale of a former slave named Chloe who had her ear chopped off after she was reportedly caught eavesdropping. She got her revenge by poisoning a birthday cake and killing two of the plantation owner's daughters. but was then hung by her fellow slaves. Chloe now reportedly wanders around the plantation wearing a turban to conceal her severed ear. Wow! The next one. What's up, MCAT? The next one is located in Mansfield, Ohio, the Ohio State Reformatory. Opened in 1896, the Reformatory is famous for its Gothic facade and omnious six-story cell block. But its greatest claim to fame is when it served as the filming location for the Shaw's Bank Redemption, though the prison was shrouded in terror long before Red and Andy holed up there. The reformatory closed in 1990 due to overcrowding and inhumane conditions, but not before more than 200 people, including 2 guards, died in the building. Legend says that the ghosts of several former inmates still roam the halls, as well as an old guard who jabs people with his nightstick. There are various ways for visitors to experience the hauntings firsthand, from 2-hour guided tours to private paranormal investigations. Another place on the list to visit. The next one is in New York City. 1 if by land or 2 if by sea, which is often considered one of the world's most romantic restaurants. The restaurant has all the makings of a perfect evening: gold chandeliers, fireside tables, upper crust cuisine, and about 20 spirits. The spirits are reportedly more playful than malicious paranormal activities or classic phantom pranks like flickering lights, tilting picture frames, and moving plates. Some of the most famous apparitions include a woman dressed in black who walks down the staircase, and a Sickfield Follies girl. Other people claim that Aaron Burr haunts the restaurant. It was his carriage house back in the day. After all, sadly, there are no reports of him performing any songs from the Hamilton soundtrack. The next one is Pine Barrens, located in New Jersey. The heavily forested Pine Barrens spans over 1 million acres in 7 counties in New Jersey. The area thrived during the colonial period, host to sawmills, paper mills, and other industries. People eventually abandoned the mills in surrounding villages when coal was discovered to the west in Pennsylvania, leaving behind ghost towns, and some say a few supernatural wanderers. The most popular Pine Barrens resident is without a doubt the Jersey Devil. According to legend, the creature was born in 1735 to Deborah Leeds, her 13th child, with wings, a goat's head, and hooves. It flew up the chimney and into the Barrens, where it has reportedly been killing livestock and creeping out South Jersey residents ever since. The next one is located in Portland, Oregon, the Peacock Mansion. Pioneers Henry and Georgiana Peacock decided to build the dream house when they reached their golden years. In 1909, spurring the innovative design and construction of the Peacock Mansion, unfortunately, the couple only got to enjoy their home for a few years before passing away. Georgiana, who died in 1918, and Henry in 1919. The building is now a public landmark where some strange occurrences have been reported, such as the smell of roses filling a room with no flowers in it, a childhood painting of Henry moving on its own from spot to spot within the house. Clearly, death was not enough of a reason for the Pataks to vacate their beloved home. The next one, in Skagway, Alaska, the Red Onion Saloon. I don't know about this one. Established in 1898 as a brothel for miners during the Klondike Gold Rush, Alaska's Red Onion Saloon had a feature that set it apart from others. It used dolls to help run its business. Always a good sign, right? Maybe. I don't know. Every day, $10 would be placed on the bar downstairs, each one representing one of the ladies working in the upstairs rooms. A customer would choose one of the dolls, at which point it was laid down on the bar to indicate that particular worker was occupied. When the customer came back downstairs, the doll would be returned to her sitting position to let other potential clients know that she was available. Fast forward to 2019, when the Red Onion Saloon still operates as a bar and restaurant, yet the dolls are still on display and offers tours of the upstairs rooms, which are preserved as a sort of a makeshift museum. As if dolls weren't creepy enough, there are reports of Lydia, a former madam of the brothel, haunting the site, complete with cold spots and lingering smells of perfume wafting the halls. The next one is another popular place in Long Beach, California, the RMS Queen Mary. Aside from a brief stint as a warship in World War II, the RMS Queen Mary served as a luxury ocean liner from 1936 to 1967. During that time, it was the site of at least one murder, a sailor being crushed to death by a door in the engine room, and children drowning in the pool. The city of Long Beach purchased the ship in 1967 and turned it into a hotel, and it still serves that purpose today. Although the reported ghosts of the deceased passengers get to stay for free, for an extra dose of spine-tingling experiences, if you can visit the ship's engine room, which is considered by many to be a hotbed of paranormal activity. The next one is San Fernando Cathedral in San Antonio, Texas. One place I've never heard of. The oldest church in Texas holds El Meraki Mass on Sunday and is a stunning example of Gothic revival architecture, but come nightfall you have to be something of a daredevil to enter its myth-ridden grounds. When construction workers started renovating the church in 1936, they unearthed bones, nails, and tattered military uniforms near the altar, which some believe belonged to 3 soldiers of the Alamo. Since the disturbing incident, visitors have reported shadowy figures and orbs in their photographs, as well as the ghosts in the back of the church itself. Such otherworldly inhabitants include a man dressed in black and figures in hooded, monk-like clothing. What's up, Ian? Alright, let's go on to the next one. The Sheffield Island Lighthouse in Norwalk, Connecticut. Built in 1868 to help ships reach Connecticut's Sheffield Island, a 45-minute ferry ride from South Norwalk, this 10-room Victorian-style lighthouse has a bit of a troubled past, In 1972, the lighthouse's original keeper died suddenly while watching passing ships with a spyglass. His death was never fully explained. Then in 1991, an archaeologist working on a historic site preservation reported several mysterious happenings, including mystical music coming from the shores, distant cries for help, and the work of the ghost of Captain Robert Sheffield, who originally purchased the islands in the early 1800s and apparently had a knack for weird musical instruments. Today, Sheffield Island Lighthouse offers guided tours from May through September. And another one that is on our bucket list to visit. Located in Estes Park, Colorado, the most famous, the Stanley Hotel. This Stanley Hotel's stately Georgian architecture and world-renowned whiskey bar have lured travelers to Estes Park since our hotel's opening in 1909. But the Stanley reached new levels of fame after inspiring Stephen King's fictional Overlook Hotel from The Shining. That eerie association aside, many other ghost sightings and mysterious piano music have been connected to the hotel. The Stanley Hotel leans into the reputation quite cleverly. I can't talk. Offering night ghost tours and physic consultations from the in-house Madame Vieira, I think. It's either Vieira or Vera. I don't know. And the next one, is located in Florida. The St. Augustine Lighthouse. This St. Augustine Lighthouse is visited by nearly 225,000 people per year, but it is just as well known for its otherworldly visitors. Several tragic events occurred at the now historic site that have contributed to the alleged paranormal activity. One of the first was when the lighthouse keeper fell to his death while painting the tower. His ghost has been since seen watching over the grounds. Another event was the horrific death of 3 young girls who drowned when the cart they were playing in broke and fell into the ocean. Today, visitors claim to hear the sounds of children playing in and around the lighthouse. Wow. We got 3 more to go. 3 more to go. The next one is another place on our list that we're hoping to get to possibly next year. It is located in western West Virginia, the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum. The Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum opened its doors to patients in 1864, and in the 1950s, the West Virginia facility reached its peak, housing more than 2,400 patients, even though it was designed to hold only 250. The severe overcrowding led to inhumane conditions like lack of heat and convalescents kept in cages, and patients starting acting increasingly violent, from starting fires to attacking staff members. The asylum finally closed in 1994, but the souls of some patients are said to linger. Ghost tours are available for those wishing to see how some patients lived and died within the cramped halls. Like I said, that's on the list for one of the places to go to next year. The next one is located in San Diego, California. the Whaley House. Thomas Whaley built his family estate in 1857 in San Diego, California, on the former site of the city's first public gallows. Shortly after he moved in, he reported hearing the heavy footsteps of Yankee Jim Robinson, a drifter and thief who was hanged on the site 4 years before the house was built. Whaley's family history ended up being filled with tragic deaths and suicides, many of which occurred inside the home itself. Some of the family members reportedly still haunt the landmark, often accompanied by the smell and smoke of cigars and heavy perfume. And the next one, and the last one, in San Jose, California, the Winchester Mystery House. The Winchester Mystery House might be one of the most disturbing construction properties and projects in history. Following the death of her husband and child, Sarah Winchester, the wife of a rifle maker's son, was informed by a seer that her family was killed by the ghosts of gunshot victims. To keep away the vengeful spirits, she commissioned the Victorian funhouse turned macabre dwelling that you see today. Some of the creepier features include staircases that lead directly into the ceiling, doors that open into brick walls, and windows that can take you to secret passageways. And that is the top 32 most haunted places in America. So I hope you guys enjoyed this one. And before I let you go, I'm going to let you guys in on some upcoming videos and some epic premieres. Tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern, and just about an hour and a half from now, is the premiere of the funeral home that we filmed at last week with me, Rob Cheney, PLE, and Nubs. That was an epic place. I mean, we loved getting into that funeral home. So I hope you guys can come check out the premiere in just an hour and a half at 8 p.m. Eastern. The premiere of the funeral home. Found a lot of cool things. And we have another premiere. I want to say, let me just make sure. We got another premiere on Sunday, which is a abandoned house Rob filmed called The Camouflaged House. And the past video we just put out yesterday called The Maskell House. Go back and check that one out. And if you guys, of course, are watching this podcast and you enjoyed it, make sure to leave a like. Comment down below what you might want to see on next week's podcast. And Nubs, I will make sure to message you afterwards. But I hope you guys enjoyed this one. And I will catch you guys back on the podcast next week.